Hello, good people. Welcome back to the Kuhb Games YouTube channel. My name is Evan, and we play goats here. We are back with round 6 of the Goat Format Championship, number 22. We are 3-2, and hoping to make a run to make day 2 of this tournament. We do have to win the last 2 rounds of day 1, and go 5-2 to do that. So, playing against Alex023. Not familiar with this player, but let's see what we can do here. Okay, so we're on the draw, but obviously a great hand. I have Graceful Charity, Delinquent Duo, Trap Dust Shoot, Blade Knight that's easily going to be at a 2000. Love it. Opponent starts out with a Sangan and some sets. So I'm like, okay, whatever. It could be some sort of Chaos deck. Would have liked something other than a Blade Knight, but the second Blade Knight does give us something to discard to the Graceful Charity, which is pretty nice, but always want to lead off with the Delinquent Duo before you use the Graceful Charity. Of course, reasoning behind this is you want to get as much information as possible before you play the Graceful Charity, so then you know you're more informed about what you want to discard. So we see a Sangan and 2 back row. We don't actually know what we're playing against yet. So just going to Duo here. Another reason that we just want to fire off the Duo before the Trap Dust Shoot here is because normally you want to do it sort of the inverse. You want to do the Trap Dust Shoot first so that you can rip any sort of like Sinister Serpent, Night Assailant, something out of your opponent's hand. But I want to Duo here first because the opponent does just have 2 cards in hand. 3 cards in hand. So there's a potential that they could just play around the Trap Dust Shoot. Obviously this is going to make our Trap Dust Shoot dead, but I think that's a thing that we can sort of live with here. Because we're going to be going up a card. The other reason to do that here is our opponent summons Sangan. If we just summon Blade Knight and crash into the Sangan, they can just go right into their deck and get Sinister Serpent. And then our Duo is like half as good as it normally is. So, yeah, I think it's correct to just go ahead and lead on the Duo here. We hit a Smashing Ground and a Book of Moon. So, still not sure. The Smashing Ground's throwing me off a little bit here. But now we're just going to play the Graceful Charity, see what we can get. Maybe there's a chance we hit Heavy Storm and we just, blow out the game. We draw a Dust Tornado, a Breaker, and an MST. So, I think Trap Dust Shoot is an easy discard. I think we can also discard the Blade Knight. We can +1 off of this Breaker. And we can also kill one of their other back row if we really want to. So I like keeping the spell and trap removal here. It also ensures that our monsters are just going to get protected so that we can leverage the advantage that we got here on turn 1 to just make sure the opponent gets dead. So I actually discard a Dust Tornado and a Blade Knight. Wow. I feel like Trap Dust Shoot's the worst card here, right? Just an easy discard? I don't think I agree with this. I get the reasoning for discarding the Dust Tornado. I also get the reasoning for discarding the Blade Knight. With a Breaker and an MST in hand, maybe you don't need the extra spell and trap removal. And Blade Knight is just an easy discard as well because we do have another Blade Knight and we don't want to just like have a bunch of Blade Knights jumbled up in hand. But I think it's fairly easy to just go Blade Knight, Trap Dust Shoot, keep all your spell and trap removal, keep the monsters safe. Yeah, and with the opponent with 1 card in hand, I don't think this Trap Dust Shoot's doing a whole lot of good here. Yeah, so I think that's probably a minor error on discarding there. Opponent is going to Book of Moon the Breaker. We're perfectly fine with that. It's still the +1. If they don't draw something that can attack over it, then we get the true +1 there. Just going to set the MST. No reason to set Trap Dust Shoot or Torrential Tribute into a Heavy Storm. Dust Shoot, of course, could have some relevance later. And, of course, Torrential Tribute, we don't actually want to flip because, we're just going to go 2 for 2 or whatever. So I don't hate just setting the MST there. We draw Solemn Judgment, which, I guess now we don't need the Dust Tornado, but... Flip Breaker, MST the back row. I think we've got a sort of a read that it's not going to be like a spell trap removal or it's not going to be a ring. I feel like they would have, if they knew they weren't going to kill the breaker there, I feel like they would have use the ring on breaker first, though I guess maybe I was not supposed to flip the breaker first because it could have been a Book of Moon, or it could have been a ring and the opponent was just reluctant to use it and they wanted to use their Book of Moon first. So probably was supposed to let the breaker be set first and activate the MST first and then flip the breaker, but either way, going to work out here. I'm just going to set some back row, breaker, attack over the Sangan. We are getting into territory where Trap Dust Shoot could become live now. Opponent's going to get a Gravekeeper Spy. That card obviously is a problem. Blade Knight attacks a Magician of Faith. They get a Smashing Ground, so now Trap Dust Shoot actually is online. So I guess forward thinking me, I still don't think keeping the Trap Dust Shoot there was correct. Now we do see that, the opponent has a decree, so the Dust Tornado was bad, but even then, I think you probably keep the other Blade Knight over the Trap Dust Shoot, but it is going to work out. The Dust Shoot is going to reveal Gravekeeper Spy, Smashing Ground that we already know about, another Smashing Ground, and a Mystic Tomato. So opponent could just kill my board. We'll see what order they want to do it in here. So they summon out the Mystic Tomato first. Obviously can't Torrential. Had they gone for the Smashing Grounds first, it would have been great. We could have just Torrential the Mystic Tomato. My opponent would be down to nothing, and we would still have a Solemn Judgment. But Tomato's going to go through. I draw a BLS. Don't have a Dark in the grave yet, but I do have a Dark right here. My opponent has this nice, tasty Smashing Ground in hand. So hopefully we can get the BLS turned on, and we don't have to deal with this Tomato. I do attack into the Tomato. Not sure why I do this. My opponent could just go get like a Spirit Reaper. Wow, oh, that's a really bad play too. I thought I was starting to tighten up here a little bit, but yeah, I had my opponent got a... Oh, no. Well, no. If they get a Spirit Reaper... Yeah, if they get a Spirit Reaper, then they just smash and ground my breaker and they attack and I lose my BLS. Yeah, no, that was a terrible attack. I guess the reasoning is they could have done that... Well, I know they couldn't do that anyway on their turn. Yeah, I know that was just not a good attack. So opponent's going to throw off an MST here on my Torrential, and then they're going to smash and ground my Mystic Tomato here. I'm going to attack in for 14. So now we have this BLS, of course, with Solemn Judgment backup. Opponent has no cards. We have Nobleman, which isn't super relevant with a BLS on the board, but maybe it helps us push through some more damage. We draw Snatch Steal, also good for helping ending the game, of course. Get in for 3,000 in a very commanding position. I'm just going to set everything. Opponent hasn't played a duo yet, so I'm just like, if they draw heavy, we have the Solemn Judgment for it. Not a big deal, but let's just protect around duo. Because, my opponent's shown they're going to throw off the MST anyway, so... If they draw a heavy, they could just play it against the Solemn if they have a good play against the BLS anyway. So they draw a Graceful Charity. They discard Book of Moon, Sinister Serpent. So they're playing triple Book of Moon and at least 2 Smashing Ground in their deck. This person hates Warriors. Opponent summons Tribe. I let it go. I could Solemn Judgment here. I guess I'm thinking I can just take this Tribe with the Snatch Steal and I can save Solemn Judgment for a follow-up play. We know they're not discarding Sinister Serpent, so they do actually have to discard a real card from their hand here. What could I have been worried about? I'm not sure what would have worried me more than the Tribe. So maybe I was supposed to Solemn there. I'm just playing this very conservatively. Just thinking that I have an answer to Tribe. But yeah, we are going to Snatch Steal the Tribe. My opponent still has 0 cards, so we have a little bit of a clock. Obviously, the Snatch Steal cuts into that. I guess if I draw any monster over the next 2 draw steps, then I pretty much just win the game. So I think you can make arguments for either side there, but I'm playing a little conservatively instead of aggressively here. I'm not sure if that's how I was supposed to. Being sort of up on card advantage, maybe I'm supposed to just press that advantage. But yeah, especially with the opponent being able to get their Sinister Servant back, I don't know. I may have made the wrong play here, but opponent is just going to set the Sinister, draw another Solemn Judgment. That's pretty good. We can knock the Sinister, get in for 16 again. Now we have double Judgment back up. We just have this Dead Trap Dust Shoot in hand, but maybe it can come into play later. Draw Exiled Force, which another excellent card. We know Sandgain and Sinister Serpent are both gone, so that's going to hit a reasonable card, or a real card. Opponent back up to 3,000. We are almost there on the clock. We draw a Dead Heavy Storm, sort of Dead Heavy Storm. Obviously, we don't want to use it on the board right here, but opponent keeps setting monsters. Don't really like that. We summon Kaiku. Of course, it goes through. If it didn't, we have Solemn Judgment. But going to attack him with a Kaiku, and the opponent is going to ring it. I actually decide to flip Solemn Judgment here. This would have put him to 600 had that gone through, but I want to keep my Kaiku on the board because this insulates me from like a potential Chaos Monster play, and it just keeps 2 monsters on the board, so if my opponent keeps setting monsters, I can keep getting damage through. My opponent gets Graceful Charity back. Attacking for 16. Opponent goes to 800. They go back up to 1800. The Kaiku's actually lethal on the next turn. If we can get it through. Opponent's going to play the Graceful Charity. I'm going to let it go. I generally do let that go when my opponents don't have too many cards in hand. We're already cutting our opponent off of Chaos plays. We have this Tribe that can kill something if my opponent needs to like go in for the Kaiku. If they have to go in for the attack on the Tribe, that's also fine because we have this Kaiku here. Just chilling. And I think we can sort of pick a better spot where we need to use the Solemn Judgment. Draw Sakuretsu, not great here. I'm going to set it though, attacking with the Tribe. That's a Spy. Opponent gets another Spy. I'm going to keep the Heavy Storm. The reasoning behind this, obviously I do have a full back row, but once we get to a position where, or like say my opponent doesn't set a monster here, we can just Heavy Storm on our next turn with Solemn Judgment backup. Then whatever card we draw, we can just pitch it to Tribe, kill both of these, and kill our opponent. So Heavy Storm could be instrumental in actually closing out this game. I believe like the opponent's ring's already gone. So we don't really have to worry about a whole lot. Breaker comes down, and I'm actually going to let this go. This is kind of funny. I do think about it for a little bit, because generally like you're like, just Solemn Judgment this Breaker, and opponent doesn't get their Tribe back and stuff, but you see, the opponent they do hit the Snatch Steal. They take their Tribe back. What are they going to name? Spellcaster? They can't attack over my Kaiku. They can't discard and name Spellcaster because they lose their entire board. It's a 3-for-1 in my favor. So, yeah, they just put the Tribe in defense, but now they have a Tribe, I guess. Congratulations. I am just going to attack over the Tribe, though. Good to just clear that thing off the board. Gonna set the Nobleman of Cross out, just setting cards at this point. The opponent still hasn't used their Heavy Storm, so maybe I'm supposed to keep cards in hand, but I think maybe I'm supposed to just set the Heavy Storm, actually, instead of the knock. And get behind that. That plays around Duo, because I want to keep this Heavy Storm, and like at this point, my opponent is likely to just rip off a Duo on one card, so maybe I'm supposed to play the Heavy Storm there, so maybe a minor mistake. We draw Reinforcement of the Army, which is pretty good here. We can go get Sasuke, which is what we do. And now we can take out a Spy and the Breaker. And then we're threatening to end this game fairly quickly. If we draw, I think, any monster except for level 2 in our deck is lethal on the next turn now with Heavy Storm, Solemn Judgment backup. My opponent's going to Heavy Storm here. I'm going to Solemn Judgment. Obviously, we need to protect the backers. Like if the opponent sees like we don't have anything, maybe they have something that can attack over the Kaiku, and then they're able to bring out the Chaos Monster, clean up the Sasuke, and then we're all of a sudden just in a really bad position when we're in a pretty game-winning position right now. So take care of that. Draw another Solemn Judgment. Don't hate that. I do elect to Heavy Storm here. The reasoning behind this is I can clean up everything. I can put my opponent to 1,000, and I can take out whatever I want to. Like I can take out, I think I take out the Tribe and the Zaborg, so the opponent can't even like Call of the Haunted those back if they have a Call of the Haunted or something like that. So I could have waited one more turn, but I think this is fine, especially after drawing the Solemn Judgment, because now we clear everything. We have a big board. My opponent can't play a Chaos Monster. They're going to have 2 cards, and they have to get through this while living through a Solemn Judgment. So yeah, just get rid of the Tribe and the Zaborg, set the Solemn Judgment, and we win the game. So we were in an absolute commanding position. The opponent was able to come back a little bit. Can point back to that turn where I didn't Solemn the Tribe, as maybe I should have done that, but you know, I didn't want to lose a Snatch Steal. I just played it a little conservatively. I was in a commanding position, and instead of just like pushing the issue, decided, you know, let's just keep this position. So opponent climbed back into it, but I think we were in a pretty good spot for pretty much the entire game there. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm playing against. It looks like it could be a goat deck, though we didn't see any goats. We didn't see any metamorphosis. So I'm thinking maybe it's some sort of like Tomato Abyss control, which is what I'm going to call it. If you're watching the YouTube video, you'll know that from the title. But we haven't seen Abyss Soldier, and we're not going to see Abyss Soldier, but I'm going to call it Tomato Abyss control, or at least Tomato control, something like that. But I would be shocked if there wasn't at least one copy of Abyss Soldier in this deck. But definitely bring in the Wengus here, the Zaborg. We're bringing in the Spies. We're playing it like it is a control deck. But gotta like this hand. We have Spy with Book of Moon, which is nice. Pot of Greed, which you can't ever be unhappy about. But, you know, we don't get to keep the Pot of Greed. We are just going to discard the other Nobleman because it's a card, you know, we have redundancy going on here. I draw the King Tiger, which is good. I'm just going to set the Spy here. I didn't see Scapegoat or Metamorphosis game 1, so I'm thinking maybe we can just set the Spy, get the value out of that, and then summon the King Tiger later after our opponent has like put a Mystic Tomato or something on the board. So I don't hate that. I know previously we have chosen to summon the Tiger first. We also saw like triple Smashing Ground and a whole bunch of Book of Moons. So throwing out the King Tiger without really any backup other than a Book of Moon just isn't the best. But opponent summons a Kaiku. They're just going to attack into the Spy. So thankfully we set the Spy instead of playing the King Tiger. So that worked out. We get ourselves another Spy. We draw Ring of Destruction, which is nice. So now this King Tiger can just attack over the Sangan. I have 2 points of interaction to take care of this Kaiku or anything that wants to attack over the King Tiger. And opponent gets a Magician of Faith, which can get back their Delinquent Duo, but I'm not really worried about that, honestly. I just have the Nobleman of Crossout in hand. My opponent's not going to attack, but I'm going to go ahead and ring the Kaiku here. This is going to push through some damage. It's going to get the Kaiku off the board. And it plays around Decree if I do it here on the end step, which we did see game 1. So just kind of pushing the issue here. I draw a Blade Knight. We could Nobleman of Crossout this. I know it is Magician of Faith, or it's very likely it's Magician of Faith. So I am going to go ahead and Nobleman. It is going to get the Magician of Faith out of my deck, but that's perfectly fine. Mostly I'm just wanting to push through damage here. I'm only attacking with 1 Spy because I don't want to completely run into Mirror Force. And if the opponent does have a Mirror Force here, we can actually flip one of the Spies down. So we don't like really lose out on advantage here. And it doesn't really change the clock. If this had been lethal, yeah, maybe I just switch it to attack mode and go in for game. But we still have the same turn on the clock. Yeah, so just attacking in with 1 Spy, I think is perfectly fine there. We do get in with everything. Opponent's going to Snatch Steal the King Tiger. I'm just going to book it. That goes through. So we get to keep that. We keep all of our Spies. Very nice. Opponent sets a monster. Sets some back rows. We're just going to flip up the King Tiger. Everything's good. Move the Spy to attack. King Tiger gets in. Tsukuyomi is going to flip down a spy. You got it. We get in for 1200. So that's going to be the end of it. Opponent is going to concede there. Just started pushing through the damage there in that game. Never really looked back. Opponent didn't have really any interaction at all. So, yeah, pretty good one. Generally, these kinds of matchups can be a little rough. Opponents playing Decree. They're playing, all of the Book of Moons that have ever been printed. All of the Smashing Grounds. They're playing Recruiters. Abyss Soldiers probably in there. So, yeah, it was nice to take this win here. So we are now 4-2. We got one more round left of day 2. Hopefully we can take it down. Or sorry, we have one more round left of day 1. Hopefully we can take it down and make day 2. So see you all for round 7.